I'm April Brooks, and this is Tulsa Talks. From software development to coding, the tech industry is creating amazing new opportunities in the classroom and creating career opportunities at an unprecedented level. On this episode of Tulsa Talks, we'll catch up with a few people who are pushing Tulsa's tech industry to grow and thrive.
You may not think of Tulsa as a technology hub, but with a thriving software coding academy and an initiative to create a citywide strategy around tech and entrepreneurship, it's well on its way to becoming one. Here we meet Libby Wuller. She's the executive director of the Holberton School. It's a school that teaches coding and uses a tuition-deferred model.
Holberton is a global network of software engineering schools, and we launched our Tulsa campus back in January of 2020. We are a different kind of school. Our students don't have teachers. They learn by project-based learning and peer-based learning how to be excellent software engineers in 20 months or less. And we also have no tuition up front. So our students pay nothing until they're employed as a software engineer working in the industry, and then pay us a fixed percentage of their income. So instead of taking out traditional student loans or going into lots of debt, they're able to pay us a percentage of their income for the first couple of years that they're employed. And in that way, we're really revolutionizing the way that someone has access to be able to learn this phenomenal skill. When you think of software engineering or technology as an industry, you probably think first about a place like Silicon Valley. But from the startups that are beginning to bud in Tulsa to even businesses that have been around for decades, you think of a Bank of Oklahoma or a Williams or a Quick Trip. All of those businesses have needs for software engineering talent. The way that technology and software has become really integrated into everyday life is huge, and those jobs are very difficult to fill in a city like Tulsa. And so we see thousands of jobs open at any given time for technical roles in northeastern Oklahoma. And we know that our students can very easily fill those roles if trained well. When you look at the technology industry as a whole, it's incredibly male-dominated, very white, but also very skewed towards a socioeconomic status of people who can afford to pay out of pocket for an Ivy League education. And when we think about building a really inclusive technology community here in Tulsa, part of that is making sure that anyone can have access to this education. And to apply to be a Holberton student, you need to be 18 and have a high school diploma. And again, because our students don't pay a dime until they're employed, there's no financial commitment or requirement or barrier to begin in school with us. And in that way, we're really able to open up new doors for individuals who wouldn't be able to afford not just an Ivy League education, but maybe even afford to go to a four-year university in state. And so in that way, we're making it more accessible to people. There's also this idea that a four-year university is a lot of lecture halls and classrooms, and that's also not the best learning environment for everyone. And so we are opening up opportunities for students who prefer to tinker and they want to dive in and work on projects and really, quote, get their hands dirty and learn the material hands-on. And that there's a lot of folks for whom the traditional higher education system fails because it is about sitting in a lecture hall and taking notes and taking tests. And here we've really flipped that model upside down and made it more accessible for folks. I love Tulsa because there's a real spirit that it doesn't matter who you are or where you come from. If you have the grit and the determination, you can make anything possible. And I think we see that not just in the city today, but if you looked back to the city's history and foundation, the reason Tulsa is where it is because it was the lowest point in the Arkansas River where you could get cattle across. And then there was an oil boom, and there was an opportunity to take advantage of a natural resource here to make something of the city. And so there's almost this entrepreneurial spirit and grit kind of ingrained in the history of the city. And we see that in our students here who say, I don't just want to be a software engineer. I want to be a software engineer because I want to make Tulsa a better place to live. And I want to make Tulsa more accessible for all people. And I can't think of a better job and a better place to be trying to strive for that kind of impact.
Obum Okabam works at the Holberton School after moving to Tulsa through the Tulsa Remote Program. Obum discusses his move to Tulsa and the value he sees in promoting tech to diverse students and entrepreneurs.
I am the head of admissions as well as the marketing manager. So I'm the first person that applicants contact or get a hold of, and I make sure that they, that the system is working for them as they apply, as well as I go out and recruit students. That's my job as far as admissions and the application process. But I also am the marketing manager, so the PR, the marketing of the school and the Holberton brand is what I take care of. When I came to Tulsa and was working here, I also started working in the community. And my background as well is working with small businesses, developing businesses, as well as working with those in the IT industry and tech industry. So I wanted to marry the two, continue to work in the technology field, as well as continue to help the community. And I saw what Holberton was doing and breaking barriers and allowing those who typically don't have access to technology, giving them that access to become successful with the technology career. I said, sign me up. How can I help with the school? And then, I ended up joining the staff. So that was my journey into Holberton. I heard about the Tulsa Remote Program towards the end of 2018. And, when I first applied to it, it was just a shot in the dark. I asked my wife, if I got into this program, let's say I got in, would you move to Oklahoma? And she said no. She's lived in California all her life. I would have just scrolled over. But she said, yeah, I trust you. So whatever you decide. So I applied and actually got in. And so we had to really make a decision of, do I want to come to Oklahoma? And I researched Tulsa, researched good and the bad, what people complain to be good and bad. And what I saw in Tulsa was the rich history of Black Wall Street. So I realized that it wasn't just about the massacre, it's how they built this type of that place anyway. With Greenwood, I was really impressed and amazed and wanted to be a part of that and part of rebuilding it again, because they've rebuilt a couple of times, right? But I want to be a part of that and telling that history, not just the massacre, the actual place that existed. So I really was connected to that community, to this community through doing my research. So we came out here to Tulsa. It's been wonderful ever since we moved. Now with Holberton, it's like, listen, we have a place where we can actually help increase your family's life, your finances with these careers. Also help influence the technology sector here in Tulsa as well as around the whole country. So I think having people, and I've done, we've recruited people and had open houses on Greenwood. We went to Greenwood Cultural Center and opened up our doors to let people know about Holberton, because we want to see this place filled with underrepresented people of all forms. So we definitely would love to see Black Wall Street take a huge jump into the technology. I know I work with Terrence Billingsley. He has a lot going on with technology and Black people. So we already told him we are here to support anything you are doing with that. We are here for it. We believe in that. Our founders are also plugged into that and would love to support.
Tulsa Innovation Labs is the tech-led workforce advancement arm of the George Kaiser Family Foundation. It's establishing Tulsa's citywide strategy to become a technology hub and a place for the future of work. Cassel Jones is an associate with Tulsa Innovation Labs. He is responsible for developing the organization's energy tech and drones portfolio.
Tulsa Innovation Labs is a tech-led economic and workforce development organization pioneered by George Kaiser Family Foundation, and TIL has two mandates. So first, we wanted to identify what Tulsa's tech niche is. And to that end, we engaged in an extensive industry analysis, and we found that 5 opportunities really emerged to the top for us. And those were virtual health, energy tech, drones, and cyber, and data analytics. And the second mandate is, now that we have those 5 opportunity areas, is to figure out what kinds of programs we can put into those 5 industries that are going to develop local talent, support startup growth, and spur academic innovation. And so my role is to lead the energy tech and drones portfolios. George Kaiser Family Foundation announced an initial $50 million commitment to Tulsa Innovation Labs, which will fuel our phase 1 program development. And as you mentioned, as we look across those 5 areas that I talked about and we're implementing these programs, we're designing, creating, and brainstorming them, we want to be really mindful and make sure that each program that we have is driving Tulsa towards being the nation's most inclusive tech hub. And what that means is paving paths to underserved communities and making sure that no matter what your starting point is, that you're going to have a role to play and you're going to be able to participate in Tulsa's growing innovation economy. We have two programs that are currently under Tulsa Innovation Lab's umbrella. The first one is the Holberton School, and we're at the campus here right now, which is beautiful. It's a San Francisco-based software engineering academy, which just opened its third U.S. location here in Tulsa in January. And at scale, it'll be graduating 500 software engineers per year. And with George Kaiser Family Foundation and Tulsa Innovation Lab support, there are built-in incentives for all of those graduates to stay in Tulsa. And the second program we have is the TU Teammate Cyber Fellows Program, which is a PhD program and a first-of-its-kind partnership between the University of Tulsa, which is renowned for its cyber research expertise, and Teammate, which is a cyber venture creation company based out of Tel Aviv with offices in New York City. And they focus on creating high-impact cyber companies. And so the goal of the program is to really commercialize the research from these PhD students to spin out these great cyber companies into Tulsa while also developing a highly skilled cyber workforce. We're reaching a wide audience in two ways. And the first way you mentioned is we're trying to be as inclusive as possible. And that entails what I said before about trying to pave paths to all of the underserved communities that we can and make sure that underrepresented populations are really reflected in our programs so that we see diversity across our programs. And I think Holberton School is a good example of that. Their first cohort that they accepted in January had 50% women or people of color. And we want to make sure that we're holding ourselves to a high standard and we're constantly getting community feedback so that each program we build is either has targeted interventions for underserved communities or is reflective of that diversity. And the second way I think we're reaching a wide audience is that we're looking for the best talent that we can across the nation, across the world. And I think the TU Teammate Cyber Fellows program is a good example of that. So we're competing, the TU Teammate Cyber Fellows program is with other top PhD programs across the country and really trying to bring in the best cyber minds to Tulsa. And so we're doing two things. We're trying to bring the best talent across our 5 focus areas, but we're also trying to find the most diverse perspectives we can and bring those in. And I think that's really how you drive innovation.
Meanwhile, Mikkel Vaughn founded Urban Coders Guild. It's a nonprofit that teaches STEM initiatives to underrepresented communities in Tulsa. Vaughn returned to his native Tulsa after living in Japan for a while.
So I'm the founder and executive director of Urban Coders Guild. Urban Coders Guild, I have a whole spiel, but essentially what it boils down to is providing STEM education opportunities for our underserved and underrepresented communities. Pointedly, what we're doing is teaching web and mobile application development to middle school and high school students in Tulsa. It's especially here important here in Tulsa because I see it as part of an ecosystem building exercise. We do have an emerging tech community here, but something that I experienced in my entire career working in IT is that there are very few people who look like me and who come from communities like myself. Living in Japan, of course, I was used to it, being, one of the people who look like me or, even who spoke English. However, I experienced that same thing when I'm here at work or here in Tulsa. There's very few people who look like me. There are very few women. And so I want to build, I want to give our students the skills to enter into these jobs, enter in these careers, but also to thrive in these careers. The hard part is really having a great vision, something that aligns to an actual problem in our community. Lots of us have great ideas like, I want to do this thing. Well, there's so many other organizations doing the same things. That's one of the things I love about Tulsa. There's a lot of people doing a lot of great work. So it's a matter of finding that niche, something that someone isn't doing or something that someone isn't doing in the same way. Like a way of increasing access or deepening a body of knowledge. And so that part is the hard part, but Tulsa is a very thoughtful place. There are lots of people doing great work, lots of opportunities to collaborate. So while I'm doing coding, there are other people doing other things, and I'm loving the opportunities to collaborate with them. Our goal is to affect at least 45 students. And so they'll be learning how to make websites, they'll be learning how to make iPhone apps, and they'll be learning how to make Android apps. So the goal is to have at least 15 in each of those cohorts. Super duper excited. In addition to that, I've also taught a couple of very, very high level introductory courses for adults, because I also want them to get excited about what we're doing with urban coding skills. I came back to Tulsa for a sense of purpose. I had a great life in Japan, but what I didn't have is that sense of purpose. Born and raised in North Tulsa, product of TPS. I tell everyone who will listen that this is not the city that I grew up in. It's a new city. It's an amazing city. There's a lot of energy. The people that are in my generation are at a point where we're able to, sit at some tables and make some decisions and help shape the city that we want. And so the opportunity to do that and to explore this new city and work with some really amazing people doing great work. We're actually starting our student cohorts at the end of September again, and we're about to open the application window. Super duper excited. This is an awesome time to be in Tulsa, and we invite folks to check us out. We invite students to apply and to help us do this work. It's going to be a great year. Looking forward to it.
Tulsa was once reliant on oil and gas. Now it's creating a diverse ecosystem of activity around tech. It includes people of color, women, and participants from all backgrounds. Look for Tulsa to continue to grow and thrive in this area as it works to become the most inclusive tech hub in the United States. I want to thank Libby, Wuller, and Obum, Okabam with Holberton School, Castle Jones with Tulsa Innovation Labs, and Michael Vaughn with Urban Coders Guild for speaking with Everybody Loves Tulsa.
Thanks for joining us today on this episode of Tulsa Talks. As our city continues to grow into a technology hub, our guests are ensuring that everyone is represented in this new tech boom. If you like this video, hit like and press subscribe, and remember to hit all notifications so you never miss an episode, and join me every other week on YouTube for Tulsa Talks.